Hey, Shalom, Shalom. And I want to give all praises due to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Raha, Wukar Kodash. And double honors to the apostles at Great Millstone and the bishops and elders in Connecticut and the high priest that taught our apostles, right? This Yah Damar from the Great Millstone, Houston. And I'm going to do a lesson going into Wisdom of Solomon, the fifth chapter, right? You know, the strangeness of their salvation. Of his salvation, as I should say. And it reads, Wisdom of Solomon 5:1. Then shall the righteous man stand in great boldness before the face of such as have afflicted him, and made no account of his labors. Yeah, men out there on the corners teaching this truth, proclaiming the Yahweh Shema Shai on the highways and byways. When they see it, they shall be troubled with terrible fear, and shall be amazed at the strangeness of his salvation, so far beyond all that they look for. The strangeness of his salvation is that chariot, right? UFO, so-called UFO, so-called UAPs, the spaceships. Yahweh Shah Yahweh Shah gonna be in, to get his elect, get his men, Verse 3, and they repenting and groaning for anguish of spirit shall say within themselves, this was he whom we had sometime in derision, and a proverb of reproach. This the 2/3 of our enemies gonna be doing when they see the men getting lifted up, beamed up in them chariots, in them spaceships. And this is what they saying. We fools accounted his life madness, and his end to be without honor. How is he numbered among the children of Yahweh Shah power? And his lot is among the saints. That's right. So hey, it's gonna be the brother Croix Abad, he did a video, the Underdog, right? And I'm kinda like laying back on that, And that was a beautiful lesson that he did. And this is the greatest underdog story right here in Wisdom of Solomon, the fifth chapter, right? The strangers of his salvation. And I went to chat GBT on that, of course. Let me see. I checked it out, and it was pretty cool. And I put the strangeness of their salvation in Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 5. And it says, great question. You're asking about Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 5, and the phrase about the strangeness of their salvation. This passage is one of the most powerful apocryphal scriptures describing how the world will react when the Most High deliver his elect in the last days. Let's look at it. Yeah, it's pretty much explaining it, which we read in Wisdom of Solomon. I read it again, Wisdom of Solomon 5:1-2. Then shall the righteous man stand in great boldness before the face of such as have afflicted him and made no account of his labors. When they see it, they shall be troubled with terrible fear, and shall be amazed at the strangeness of his salvation, so far beyond all that they look for. Right. And they going into it, the meaning, the righteous standing in boldness. The elect of Israel, once depressed and despised, will stand confidently when Yahweh Shah returns. Right. Those who mock and afflict them will witness their vindication. Yeah. Trouble with fear. Two, trouble with fear. The nations and unbelievers will be terrified when they realize the ones they ridiculed and the chosen of Yahweh power. Right. I read that. Yeah, the nations and unbelievers will be terrified. When they see so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans of the elect going up in them spaceships, in them chariots. And it says, The fear comes from sudden reversal of roles. The despised are now glorified. Yeah, and that's pretty much a true underdog story right here. You know, number 3, the strangeness of their salvation. The manner of salvation will shock the world because it won't happen in the way people expect. This includes divine intervention, Yahweh appearing with the angels, right? That's in 2nd Ezra, the 13th chapter. You know, when he's coming back, you know, when these nations going to be warned and he's going to intervene and they're going to try to fight him and he going to turn them to dust. Just read 2nd Ezra, the 13th chapter, you know. The supernatural deliverance, the elect being caught up into the chariots, so-called UFOs, while destruction comes upon the earth, right? You know, Wisdom of Solomon 5:2, and 1 Thessalonians 4:16. Let's get that. And you also got Isaiah. Let's go to Isaiah first. Isaiah 26. Oh, Salaki. 26 and 20. And it reads, "Come, my people, enter thou into Salaki. Come, my people, enter thou into thy chambers, and shut thy doors about thee. Hide thyself as it were for a little moment, until the indignation be overpassed." Yeah. So, hey, the elect gonna be beamed up in those chariots when the destruction come and fall upon this place, right? And I'll read the last one, Isaiah 26 and 21. "For behold, Yahweh Shai cometh out of his place to punish the inhabitants of the earth for their iniquity. The earth also shall disclose her blood, and it shall no more cover her slain." So yeah, we want to be exempt from that. You know, Lord willing, we have that why that mark. That's in what's that, Ezekiel chapter, what's that, 9? Yeah, Ezekiel chapter 9 and 4, you know, being exempt. But yeah, you know, we want to be caught up in them chariots when our hell break loose. Let's go to what's that, 1 Thessalonians 4:16. Yeah, because it mentioned supernatural deliverance, the elect being caught up into the chariots, so-called UFOs, while destruction comes upon the earth. And I got one out of Isaiah, the 26th chapter and 20. So we're gonna read one, 1 Thessalonians 4:14. Yeah, 1 Thessalonians 16, Salaki. 1 Thessalonians 4:16. "For Yahweh Shai himself shall descend from heaven with a shout," which is Yahweh Shai, "with the voice of the archangel, and with the trump of Yahweh power. And the dead in Mashiach shall rise first." Right, the ones that died in this truth, they'll be the first to be caught up in them ships, right? Verse 17, "Then we which are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet Yahweh Shai in the air. And so shall we ever be with Yahweh Shai. Wherefore, comfort one another with these words." Right. So, hey, you know, Lord willing, you know, the hopeful elect, we be up in the chariots, caught up with the ones that died first in in Yahweh Shai Mashiach. You know, that's the goal. That's what we hoping for. That's why we're doing what we're doing, you know. And let's get back to it in that chat GPT. Right. And it says, continuing on, "Unexpected people being saved, those the world despised as worthless or lowly, will be revealed as the true children of Yahweh, by Shem Yahweh Shai power." Right. And 4, beyond what they look for, Many assumed salvation was tied to wealth, status, or belonging to certain religions. Instead, salvation comes to the one. It's like instead, salvation comes to the ones they least expected, the Israelites, who repented and endured to the end. Right? You know, when it says, what's that? Yeah. Instead, salvation comes to the ones they least expected. You know. I'm thinking about. Let me get one more. What's that? Hosea. 1:9. Yeah, I started 9. Hosea 1:9. Then said Yahweh, Shem Yahushua power, call his name Lo Ami, which is a no people. For ye are not my people, and I will not be your power. Yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured nor numbered. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, ye are not my people, there it shall be said unto them, ye are the sons of the living power. Right? Then shall the children of Judah and the children of Israel be gathered together and appointed themselves one head, and they shall come up out of the land, for great shall be the day of Jezreel. So yeah, this is another underdog story, right? So these people gonna be amazed to know who the true children of the Lord is, right? Let's get back to it. I'm gonna finish. But yeah, because it said instead salvation comes to the ones they least expected, the Israelites who repented and endured to the end. In summary, the strangeness of their salvation in Wisdom of Solomon 5 means the world will be shocked at who is saved and how they are saved, right? The righteous one, despised, will be gloriously delivered in a supernatural way by Yahweh Shai and the angels, right? In a spaceship, in a chariot, right? Far beyond human imagination or expectation. Yeah, so, that's it, man. The great underdog story, a true great underdog story is right here, Wisdom of Solomon, the 5th chapter. So, I hope this has been edifying and to the point. Until next time, I want to give all praises due to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rahab, Wakakadash, and double honors to the apostles at Great Millstone, and to the bishops and elders in Connecticut, and to the high priest that taught our apostles. And shout out to the brothers that's out there putting their lives on the line, teaching this truth. Until next time, Shalom.